seamlessly switch over to Justin, who should be waiting in the wings. Justin, are you there?
Hi, I am indeed. Let me just try to share my screen now.
Excellent stuff. Right, okay, good stuff. So Justin is from a company called Frequency. They are an airline communications company, and I'll let kind of Justin expand on that. Another Enterprise Island client who've already invested, and they are also an EIS company as well. So any of your investment would receive a 40% tax rebate from Mr. Donahue. So anyway, listen, I'll let Justin go through the rest of it, but off you go. Thanks very much, Justin.
Sure, indeed. Thank you, Chris, for the introduction. As Chris said, my name is, in fact, First Officer Justin Perry, and I'm CEO of Frequency. We are currently raising €500,000 for 30% equity at a valuation of 1.67 million. Currently looking for €150,000, of which we're looking for your support with. Frequency is an innovative, internet-based communication and collaboration platform for the aviation industry using VoIP and multimedia messaging with onboard Wi-Fi and 4G-enabled tablets to improve disruption management and operational efficiency. Frequency was developed by myself and my co-founders, Captain Derek O'Curry and Captain Crispin Stinkus, from our daily frustration of using outdated, inefficient, and unreliable forms of communication for commercial and safety-critical communications. As we fly our aircraft, our €200 million aircraft across the Atlantic, the passengers are WhatsApping, they're emailing, they're FaceTiming people on the other side of the world, while the pilots can be forced to use unreliable 19th century technology as our primary form of communication in the form of a HF radio. And we knew we could develop a better communication system for aviation ourselves. Currently, a pilot sitting in an aircraft will use up to 8 different forms of communication to talk to over 9 different agencies on any single flight. This complex web of outdated and inefficient forms of communication are overly complicated, and this leads to poor communications. This poor communication results in delays, it decreases safety, and it increases costs for an airline. For the first time, Frequency has been able to combine the advantages of each of these communication systems into a singular, simple, and easy to use solution. So there we go. The current web of analog communication systems are overly complicated, and this leads to a number of issues, including communication roadblocks, which is when you physically cannot contact the required party, which is an extreme example, or which in an extreme example can result in an aircraft being intercepted by a fighter jet. But in an everyday example is that if I need to contact my flight dispatcher, I currently have no way of doing so. So I must try to call station control on a VHF channel, which is used by the entire company. So it's tens of aircraft, hundreds of pilots, and ask them to pass a message to my dispatcher and relay back the answer. All of this taking up valuable resources and time. It also leads to message tag. For example, if I'm trying to contact ground handling at my destination, I may send them a message via ACARS, which is a system we have, but get no response. I will then try to dig out my mobile phone, I'll find their phone number and try to call them. But at the same time, there's every chance they're trying to raise me on a VHF channel, and this results in this unnecessary back and forth. This is often due to not knowing actually if they're available or which communication system they're currently monitoring, as there is no presence feature. We as pilots are limited to using a suboptimal method of communication. A pilot may have to describe multiple bird strike damage to their aircraft back to engineering using a basic text message only, whereas we all know a simple photo would be a lot quicker and a lot clearer. This poor communication, it leads to delays. In fact, VHF radio congestion is the single biggest contributor to capacity-related delays. These delays, they increase costs. Every minute of delay costs an airline roughly €72. This may not seem like a large amount, but over a year it costs airlines globally upwards of $25 billion. But most importantly, poor communication increases the risk of accidents. 70% of the first 28,000 NASA air safety reports were related to communication problems. Frequency has been designed to combine the advantages of each of the existing communication systems while discarding their restrictions. Frequency is a singular channel with minimal capital expenditure, unlimited range, and mission-critical reliability, while being less expensive, more environmentally, and more secure than the existing systems. Frequency is specifically designed to be ergonomic and easy to use, resulting in the elimination of communication roadblocks of message tag whilst allowing a presence feature, all while using the optimum method of communication at any time, whether that's voice, text, file, or photo. Frequency is a unified communication and collaboration platform which facilitates real-time information sharing between all the required parties of a flight team, reducing the overall number of communications necessary and relayed messages from third parties. As a team member logs into a frequency-enabled flight, they can see and communicate directly with any of the other team members using voice, text, file, or photo sharing as required to improve the efficiency and allows them to work together as a team to solve any issue, ultimately resulting in dispatching the aircraft quicker. From research we have conducted, frequency will save an airline 2 minutes during a turnaround and improve the average delay by 5 minutes. This may sound like a relatively small number, but if we look at this example airline with 570 aircraft, if we save them just 2 minutes from their flights that were delayed by over 15 minutes, we can save them almost €59 million a year, and that represents a 14x return on their investment in frequency. The aircraft communication systems market is currently worth €3 billion, and this is set to grow to €5 billion by 2023. There are roughly 23,600 commercial aircraft, and this doubles every 15 years, according to both Boeing and Airbus. With the backing of our partners and our funds raised, we'll be able to rapidly scale to reach this industry demand. Our competition is split into 4 categories, none of which can combine all the features of frequency. The existing technology is probably our main competitor. However, with the associated limitations and requirement for multiple systems due to limited range, some of them aren't even usable in flight, poor sound quality, and high costs, etc., it's not sustainable into the future. There's other software communication systems which have generic broad appeal, but they aren't designed for industry-specific requirements of aviation. Then we have the likes of the connectivity providers, the government agencies, and the manufacturers. These really prefer partnerships and acquisitions rather than to compete, because really operational software development isn't their core business. Through our strategic partnerships that we've already developed with Motorola, the European Space Agency, and the Irish Aviation Authority, we strengthen the Frequency brand and we build our credibility. Frequency is a SaaS subscription-based service, charging per aircraft per year. Our SAM is currently €200 million, and our SOM will be €50 million within 5 years. We'll grow both of these by introducing further features and solutions, such as what we call PilotBot. We're also looking at cloud-based CVR, and really by digitizing what is currently an analog system, we can start to extract and analyze this rich data to help drive prediction and decision-making within an airline. Our team is founded on domain expertise and is implemented by a formidable development team with over 40 years experience. We're driven by a senior sales and business development executive, formerly director of technology of a $2.3 billion revenue company, and advised by individuals hugely experienced in finance, regulation, and business development. We have completed our MVP and has been put through a certification process by Motorola Solutions. We are backed and supported by a number of different agencies, including the European Space Agency, the Irish Aviation Authority, and Enterprise Ireland, of which we have CSF. We successfully completed our initial proof of concept trial with Aer Lingus in 2019 and are developing our full commercial product in consultation with a number of airlines to trial in Q4 of this year. However, at the moment, we're looking at pushing this trial out to Q1 of 2021 due to COVID-19. Recently, we won the IFA Travel Startup Award in San Francisco, and we won silver at the National Startup Awards here. I was runner-up in Ireland's Best Young Entrepreneur under the Best Startup category in Fingal, and shortlisted for the Fingal Enterprise Awards. We've already raised €160,000 in our pre-seed, which has allowed us to develop our MVP and attract the attention of airlines and run our initial proof of concept trial. We are now raising our seed round of €500,000, of which we already have €200,000 committed by a VC and 2 New York-based angel investors. We've applied for and expect match funding from Enterprise Ireland HBSU of €150,000. We've already received €50,000 support from Enterprise Ireland under the CSF, which helped us support our trial with Aer Lingus. Currently, we have lined up trials with both Aer Lingus and JetBlue. To coincide with these trials, we are now actively raising the €500,000 to close in Q2 of this year, which will allow us to scale and develop frequency to our full commercial product in Q3 or Q4. Intending to trial in Q4, which, as I said, we may look at pushing out to Q1 of 2021 and generating revenue Q1 to Q2 of 2021. So thank you, and now I'm more than happy to take any questions that you may have.
Great, thank you very much indeed, Justin. Very good, very good. So Fergal, have you got a couple of questions there lined up for Justin there, please?
Yes, I have a few questions just coming in from the chat here. From Andrew, he likes the product, great product, but he cannot see airlines having the cash to invest in the next 12 months beyond due to the crisis. Have you any solutions for this, Justin, or have you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's
taken into consideration.
Yeah, it is an obvious concern. And what we are looking at initially, the trials, the 3 months trials that we're looking at, which will be in Q4 to Q1, coming up on that 12-month period to now, they won't actually cost the airline. And from that, we will build our data, which will show that the cost savings that we predict. We're looking at really between a 10 and a 15x return on their investment from frequency, and an average sale of a small airline of about €500,000 spread out over a year to €10 million for the largest airlines, but they'll save 10 to 15 times that in increased efficiency and reduce costs from what they're currently using.
Excellent. And just a question here from Fergal O'Brien. He's just wondering, how's the trial at the moment with Aer Lingus? How's that going? Is it successful? When will you have the results or addition of that?
So our initial proof of concept trial we did last year, and then we're lining up our pilot program, as we call it, for this year. So our initial proof of concept trial that we did last year was a massive success. We trialed it on the A320, their European fleet, and their A330 long-haul transatlantic fleet. And it was a combination of pilots, both co-pilots and captains, senior and junior guys, with 21 success criteria, which ranged from actually being able to download it to reliability over 95%. And we exceeded all of those 21 criteria. So it was a huge success. And we expect the next trial, which will be an airline-wide trial, to be a similar success.
Excellent. And just another maybe difficult question in here from chat. Is it a winner-takes-all market?
No, it's absolutely not. There is potential for competition, but we are actually looking at trying to be the winner-takes-all. It's really split into two markets at the moment, which is operational communication, and then, it's AOC, Airline Operational Communication, Airline Administrative Communication. So AAC, which is currently what we're shooting for, is an unregulated, and that's not a winner-take-all market. But with our relationship with the Irish Aviation Authority, who control a large portion of the North Atlantic routes, that will really be a winner-take-all. And they're looking and interested with trialing with us once we do get our full commercial product as the singular communication system for North Atlantic traffic, really to replace the HF radio. And so in that respect, if we get their go ahead, every aircraft and airline flying across the North Atlantic will have to have frequency on board.
Excellent. And Chris, do we have time for one more question?
Yeah, go on, quick one, and we'll then wrap up.
Actually, quite an interesting one. As a pilot, I suppose, Justin, can you give an example from your own time as a pilot? How you would have used, this service or this system.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one example I actually had in the presentation, which was we hit a bunch of pigeons flying into Naples down in Italy, and the only way we had to communicate back to Dublin then to talk to engineering. You have to get an inspection, you have to get the engine checked out, all this sort of stuff. But the only method we had to communicate to them the damage that was caused, which was fairly significant, was through ACARS, which is a system that we use, but it's a basic text message only system. The phones on board weren't working. We don't actually have a phone number for the engineering in Dublin. Yeah. Whereas, we all know, snap a picture, send it on WhatsApp, anything like that would have been infinitely quicker to resolve. Rather than all this back and forth, each message takes a little while before they can even contact an Italian engineer to get them out to assess the damage. So that's just one prime example that would have made life a lot easier for everybody and saved. Like, we're really talking 10 to 15 minutes, which, it's not huge, but it's easily going to save us €1,000. There's also lots of examples of maybe a slit in a tire which is a relatively small one, but it still needs an engineer to come out. You may get a Spanish or an Italian engineer to come out and have a look at that. Whereas reality, with frequency, we could have video streamed exactly as we're doing now back to engineering in Dublin. They could have proved that tire either good to go or not good to go, where it would need to be changed.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you very much.
Okay, Justin, thanks very much. Thanks very much indeed. And thanks very much to all the panelists there. Some excellent presentations there. Justin will be hopefully live on the Spark platform within the next couple of weeks, really. So so do keep an eye out for that as well. We're in the last bits of sorting that out. But again, as I said earlier on, all the answers will be to the questions will be emailed out to everybody. We're also going to send out a very quick survey to all of the attendees as well, and hopefully your feedback will help the investees, the companies in their delivery, and also perhaps whether you're going to be interested in investing in them or not. And as we've been recording this, we're going to put this recording up on our YouTube, and we'll send a link out to everybody, and all those people who didn't manage to stay on the call for the duration, or who didn't manage to get on it at all, will be able to see the presentations as well. So I think that concludes everything. So thank you very much for your participation, all of the panelists, and thanks very much for all of your attendees, for the people who've signed in as well. So we'll conclude there, but thanks very much indeed. Thanks very much now. Bye-bye.